What do we truly want from life? Happiness? Meaning? Or perhaps both? Albert Camus didn't shy away from the big questions. Instead, he grabbed them by the throat and shook them until the truths, or lack thereof, fell out. Camus told us, life doesn't offer meaning on a silver platter. It's absurd. But here's the twist: he didn't despair. He found freedom, rebellion, and even joy in the absurd. In this video, we dive deep into the philosophy of Albert Camus, the man who showed us how to live without hope and yet love life all the same. Albert Camus was born in French Algeria in 1913, a time and place steeped in colonial tension and poverty. His father died in World War I, leaving his mother to raise him in silence, both figuratively and literally, as she was partially deaf. The young Camus grew up poor but brilliant, devouring books and questioning everything around him. He would later say, "Poverty, first of all, was never a misfortune for me. It was radiant with light." This duality, finding light in the darkest corners, would define his work. Camus went on to study philosophy, but was forced to quit due to tuberculosis. The disease was both a curse and a gift. It gave him the time to think deeply about life's fragility and absurdity. These experiences, poverty, colonialism, war, and illness, shaped the man who would later shake the intellectual world with his groundbreaking ideas. Camus' starting point is simple: life is absurd. And no, he didn't mean life is silly. He meant this: we humans crave meaning, purpose, and order. But the universe? It's silent, chaotic, indifferent. There's no divine script, no cosmic blueprint guiding us. He writes in the Myth of Sisyphus, man stands face to face with the irrational. He feels within him his longing for happiness and for reason. The absurd is born of this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world. Absurdity is that clash, our desperate search for meaning versus a universe that offers none. So, what do? Do we despair? Do we turn to religion or ideologies? Camus says no. He offers us three responses: suicide, a leap of faith, or rebellion. Camus called suicide the only serious philosophical problem. When life feels meaningless, why bother living? But to Camus, suicide is a surrender. It's admitting defeat. He rejected it outright, insisting that life, absurd as it is worth living precisely because of its absurdity. Next, Camus explores the leap of faith, where people turn to religion or ideology to escape life's absurdity. To Camus, this leap is a lie. He wasn't anti-religion, but he believed that inventing meaning, whether through God or an ideology, is just running away from the truth. Camus' third option, rebellion, is where his philosophy truly shines. He argues that instead of running from the absurd, we must face it head-on, accept it, and then live. Rebellion doesn't mean violence. It means refusing to bow to despair or false hope. It means creating your own meaning in a meaningless world. The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. Camus believed we could find joy, not in achieving something eternal, but in the very act of struggling, of living passionately despite it all. In The Rebel, Camus expands on this idea of rebellion. He says, what is a rebel? A man who says no, but it's not just about rejecting oppression, it's about standing for something greater. Camus saw rebellion as a deeply human act, a way of affirming life even when it feels meaningless. During World War II, Camus joined the French resistance, editing underground newspapers to fight fascism. He saw firsthand the horrors of totalitarian regimes, and his writing became a weapon against oppression. In The Rebel, he condemns not just political tyranny, but any system, religious, ideological, or philosophical, that tries to strip us of our humanity. His message is clear: rebel, not to destroy, but to build a world where freedom and dignity thrive. Camus' novel The Plague is a powerful allegory. Set in Oran, Algeria, it tells the story of a town gripped by a deadly epidemic. But the plague is more than an illness. It's a metaphor for suffering, war, and the absurdity of life. Dr. Ruse, the protagonist, doesn't fight the plague because he believes he'll win. He fights because it's the right thing to do. Camus writes, "The struggle itself is enough to fill a man's heart." The plague resonates today more than ever. In a world plagued, literally and metaphorically, by disease, conflict, and uncertainty, Camus reminds us of our shared humanity. He teaches us that even when the universe seems indifferent, our actions, however small, matter. Camus didn't offer easy answers. He didn't promise salvation or eternal meaning. What he offered was something more radical: the courage to live fully, even when life feels meaningless. His philosophy challenges us to reject despair, to embrace freedom, and to find beauty in the struggle. Live to the point of tears, he said. And that's what he did. Camus lived passionately, writing, loving, and fighting for justice, until his untimely death in a car crash at just 46. But even in death, his ideas live on. Albert Camus challenges us to confront life's absurdity and, instead of despairing, to rebel, to live with passion, to create meaning where none exists. So now, I ask you, how will you embrace your absurd life? Will you let it crush you, or will you rise like Sisyphus and push that boulder with a smile? Let us know in the comments. If this journey into Camus' mind resonated with you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more deep dives into philosophy, history, and the human condition. Remember, the struggle itself is enough to fill your heart. Let's imagine Sisyphus and ourselves happy